Well, here we go again. I never finished this game before, not because it was hard, but because it was scary. I am convinced that my brain is trying to torture me, and since crappy graphics and shitty controls didn't do the trick before, it's now moving on to psychological torture. Well, fine, I'll do your bidding this time, brain, but don't expect me to clean the shit out of my chair. Now, I'm not big on horror games. I can handle horror movies and horror anything else just fine, but horror games? That I cannot deal with. Yeah, okay, I admit it. I'm basically saying I'm a big wimp with a lot more words, but can you blame me? I get way too immersed in these things, and that works against me when it comes to horror. In fact, the only horror game I can remember playing while growing up was Resident Evil, and I'm still haunted by those freaking loading screen doors keeping me awake at night. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're better off not knowing, believe me. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a game in which you have amnesia and you descend into a dark place. Talk about an efficient title. You play the role of Daniel, a man who keeps forgetting things because spoilers. And you navigate through a mansion that has a very strange problem with pulsating flesh pustules growing everywhere. And it's filled with spooky monsters. Ooh. By now you're probably wondering how scary the game is, and the answer is yes. Yes, it is. It's very scary. If you're a fan of horror and you've never played this, you're missing out. The game is at its highest when you're playing with headphones and with the lights off. The game is at its lowest when... I'll get to that. First, let me talk about the things I enjoyed. The atmosphere. Never before has a game made me fear for my life quite this much, or to this extent. Most likely because the build-up to the eventual scare is so well pulled off. The game achieves this thanks to its excellent sound design. Sound is the single most effective way of transmitting horror, and Amnesia pulls this off to near perfection. Another strong point is what the game doesn't show you. Throughout most of the game, you're actually in no real danger, but it sure as heck doesn't feel like that. This is done by giving you room to breathe and allowing your mind to scare you instead. There's always this tension in the air. You never know when the monster might pop up behind you and lick the back of your neck or something. But then it never seems to happen, which always makes you more uneasy. In fact, you barely ever see the monster, and that's a good thing because looking at these things when you're not immersed makes you realize how ridiculous they look. They look like a very slim Oogie Boogie with a droopy jaw and googly eyes, and once I saw that, I just couldn't take them seriously anymore. That didn't make the game any less scary, however, which makes me think that pretty much anything could have been the monster, and I would have still been scared of it. Another thing I really loved is that you have no means of defending yourself from anything. If you see a monster, all you can do is run, and hide like the little shit you are. Kind of like the little shits you accidentally let out while playing this. You'll have lots of them by the time you finish. Without getting too much into spoilers, because of this game, I have stopped trusting knee-high water pools in video games. Anyone who's played this will immediately know what I'm talking about. Now let's talk about the things I didn't like. First of all, the sanity mechanic. If you stay in the dark for too long, you start to go crazy. Why? Is my character 5 years old? Being a horror game, it's dark. It's very dark. I mean, it makes sense. It's a horror game. This isn't called Amnesia the Bright and Cheery. But these dark areas will quickly drain your sanity and you're running low on it all the time. Lose enough of it and your character starts to hallucinate and gets disoriented and you start to hear some really freaking weird sounds. I swear, it sounds like a spider is crawling in my head, eating my ears from the inside. It's horrible. I hate it and it makes me want to shove my hand in my ear and scratch the back of my eyeballs or something. I guess sanity is okay as a concept, but the mechanic actively prevents you from exploring in the dark. It's like the game's telling you, your character is scared, find a safe spot. And I'm like, what? Screw my character, I feel ridiculous just standing around by the light, sucking on my thumb. You trying to tell me something, Amnesia? Anyway, another problem is that the game suffers from where the heck do I go syndrome, which to be fair also works in its favor. Feeling lost and stuck is also a type of fear, and it can be very effective, but in the context of a video game and when you're under a time restraint, it's mostly just really annoying, especially because those moans in the background don't seem to stop looping. In one area, I had to get through some rubble to reach the next room, to which the game only told me, find a way around the rubble. So I searched and prodded around the tiny room for an hour until I eventually gave up and looked up the answer. Turns out I was supposed to break a window and jump on the balcony across. Oh really? I was supposed to do that, was I, Amnesia? Well, yeah, the window has a crack. See the little crack? It's a video game? Okay, but when I tried throwing things at windows before, did those windows have a crack? No. Then your argument is invalid, and you're stupid, and I'm keeping all of the lamp oil you spent. I'm aware this sounds a little nitpicky, but when I throw a chair at a window, I expect more to happen than just a slight thump sound and a very disappointed chair. Maybe I'm just frustrated because I spent most of my lamp oil in a safe area, and this game does not like to give you lamp oil. I like to imagine Amnesia is a very shy game and refuses to keep the lights on while you're exploring it. Lamp oil is crucial because at certain times of the game, it's incredibly dark. No, you don't understand. It's pure black. It's so dark that when you turn on the lamp, you can only see the lamp. That's not helpful! Other than that, there's little things that confuse me. For instance, at a certain point, there's a tiny object that's also on fire, and the game gave me the hand prompt. No, not that one, this one. This serves to interact with objects when you click, and when I did, blood showed up on a screen, indicating I took damage. Okay, first of all, why did touching fire cause me to bleed? And second, how was I supposed to know my character would do that? Why would I ever want to touch a flame, Amnesia? I'm not a moth. At another point in the game, there's a barrel of acid, and again, there was the hand prompt. This time I assumed it would move the barrel or something, but no, if you interact with it, you get damaged. Apparently, the first thing my character wanted to do with the loud, sizzling barrel of green liquid was dip his hands in it. I've never felt so spiritually connected to a character before. I'm just nitpicking at this point. Amnesia is a pretty solid game, with a simultaneously satisfying and yet confusing story. No other game has ever made me shit my pants so consistently throughout, even if it did get a little ridiculous by the end. I appreciate the horror genre more because of it, and I'm glad I played it. There, I've beaten Amnesia, Brain. I can now confidently say I can overcome any of your ridiculous challenges. Bring it on, I say. I was kidding!